Now we're going to move to NBT.7, adding and subtracting decimals. For this standard, we're going to use our grid once again, lining up our decimals, placing each digit in the proper place value and in the proper column. All right, our first number will be 1 2/10. Place my 1 in the ones column, the 2 in the tenths column, and I'm going to add 1 2/10 to 1 2/1000. So I know the 2 will go in the thousands place, and the tenths will be a 0, and in the hundreds place, there will be a 0. The first thing I do, I want to make sure I have the same amount of digits behind the decimal in each particular number. So I have 3 digits behind the decimal here. I only have 1 here, so I need to add 2 zeros. Now that I have the same amount of digits in each column, I can add as normal. But the first thing I need to do is bring down my decimal. Now that my decimal's in place, I can just add my digits column by column. 2 plus 0 is 2. 0 plus 0 is 0. 2 plus 0 is 2. And 1 plus 1 is 2. So now, 1 2/10 plus 1 2/1000 will give me the sum 2 202,000. Okay, our next problem is going to be 3 7/500. And I'm going to add that to 2 6/10. Again, I have my decimals lined up, but I have 2 digits behind the decimal in my first number, and I only have 1 in my second number, so I need to add a 0. Now I have 2 digits behind the decimal in each number. Now I can add as normal, but the first thing again, bring my decimal down. 5 plus 0 is 5. 7 plus 6 is 13. Regroup, so my 1 comes up here. 3 plus 2 is 5. Plus 1 is 6. So the sum for 3 7/500 plus 2 6/10 is 6 3500. Okay, my next 2 numbers will be 4 71,000. And I'm going to add that to 9300. Again, I have 3 digits behind the decimal. I only have 2 digits here. So I need to make sure I have the same amount of digits behind the decimal in both numbers. So I add a 0 here. For this one, I actually have a digit in front of the decimal, but I don't have anything here. So I'll add a 0 here as well. Before I add any of my numbers up, I'm going to bring my decimal down. And now I'm going to add my numbers as normal. 1 plus 0 is 1. 7 plus 3 is 10. Regroup. 9 plus 0 is 9. Plus 1 gives me 10. Regroup. 4 plus 0 is 4. Plus 1 is 5. So the sum for 4 71,000 plus 9300 will get me 5 1,000. Now let's subtract decimals. We're going to take 5 and 1,000, and we're going to subtract from it 9300. There are 3 digits behind the decimal on my top number, but there are only 2 on my second number. So I'm going to add a 0 in my thousands place, so I have 3 digits behind the decimal in both numbers. But I have 1 digit to the left of the decimal on my top number and none on the bottom, so I'll add a 0 here as well. Bring the decimal down. Now I subtract as I would a regular number. 1 minus 0 is 1. I can't take 3 from 0, so I need to regroup. And I'm regrouping from my whole number, making this a 4. This 0 here becomes a 9, and this number here becomes 10. 10 minus 3 is 7. 9 minus 9 is 0. And 4 minus 0 is 4. So 5 1,000 minus 9300 will give us the difference of 4 and 71 thousandths. Our next two numbers will be 6 and 35 hundredths. From this number, we're going to subtract 2 and 6 tenths. I have 2 digits behind the decimal in my first number, but I only have 1 digit behind the decimal in my second, so we're going to add a 0. After that, we'll bring our decimal down to keep accurate place value. 5 minus 0 is 5. I can't take 6 from 3, so I need to regroup, changing that 6 into a 5 and my 3 into a 13. 13 taking 6 away would leave 7. 5 take away 2 would leave 3. So the difference between 6 and 35 hundredths and 2 and 6 tenths would be 3 and 75 hundredths. Okay, our next number would be 2 and 202 thousandths. And we're going to take away from 2 and 202 thousandths 1 and 2 tenths. I have 3 digits behind the decimal in my top number. My bottom number only have 1 digit behind the decimal, so I'll add my 2 zeros, so there are 3 digits behind the decimal. I bring my decimal down to keep accurate place value, and now I'm going to subtract as normal. 2 minus 0 is 2. 0 minus 0 is 0. 2 minus 2 is 0. And 2 minus 1 is 1. So the difference between 2 and 202 thousandths and 1 and 2 tenths is 1 and 2 thousandths.
Everything I do, everything I do, everything I do it in a boss way.